Something interesting has happened here in San Francisco, it seems, in terms of your partnership with the city and with other local organizations around really trying to get to universal preschool here at a local level. Can you talk a little bit about that and what you think the importance of that is in your overall plan for moving the school district forward?
Well, what's great here in San Francisco is that we're not going to wait for Sacramento or the federal government to take care of our children. And I think it's a real, you need to commend the public of San Francisco because they go out and vote for it.
Right.
In 2004, they passed Proposition H, which said we care about music, arts, sports, and we care about preschool. And so we want to make it a top priority. It passed by over 70% of the vote. So I think when you look at that, the commitment that the city has made, not only to the preschool program, but even to the school district. Financially, we wouldn't be here having this discussion if the rainy day fund from the city didn't come to help us, to bail us out. Unfortunately, that's what other cities, municipalities need to do with their school districts to develop a rainy day fund that helps all of us. But with the preschool alone, I mean, the amount of commitment that the city puts up, they put millions and millions of dollars in a preschool. And I've never been anywhere that has as many preschools. We're doing preschool for all. And in spite of having a state budget, we've done that. We've put up some of the money. The city's put up some of the money. We've written a lot of grants. But, we're now providing it all over the city. Every child, within 2 years, every child will have access to free preschool in San Francisco.
You've been with the district, with San Francisco for about a year now, obviously having a number of years of experience prior to coming to San Francisco, and you've put together a strategic plan, and clearly the preschool piece is a part of that. Can you tell us a little bit about that, what that includes, and where you hope to take the district with this strategic plan?
Well, I have to tell you, in my over 32 years in education, this is the best thing I've ever had the privilege of working on. Our strategic plan, it's called Beyond the Talk.
Okay.
Educating every child right now, not putting it off. I mean, let's face it, in education, we've talked to death the achievement gap.
Right.
In the 30 years I've been involved, we've always talked about it. But what have we done about it? What we really want to do is engage the entire community, the city, everybody, every division, every agency on having a meaningful conversation of the balanced scorecard, and what that means that it's everybody's responsibility for us to achieve these things. And we've really highlighted just 3 things that are our number one goal. One is access and accountability. People need to have access to the curriculum. Are we engaging kids in the curriculum that they need to be involved in? Right. And it's kind of funny because usually, when you look at access and equity like we're looking at it, we kind of view this as making social justice a reality. In other words, our whole plan is based upon that the biggest issue facing America today, the biggest civil rights issue in America, hands down, is the achievement gap. Okay. Because you can't possibly talk about equality if people aren't getting an equal education. Right. And as you know, the gap just keeps getting broader and broader. So what we've said is, we've talked enough. Now what we're going to do in this plan is everybody's going to create an action of what exactly specifically are you going to do differently to address these issues. We've disaggregated the data. Everybody knows at their school who are the kids that need the most support. Pacific Islanders, Latino students, and African American students. We can't continue to just turn the other way and say this isn't an issue. Our definition, for example, of accountability is very simple: keeping our promises to the children and their families, because that's really what accountability is about. And then when we talk about engaging kids, we actually we had the audacity to put in our plan to talk about joyful learners, that our goal ought to be to engage people in high level thinking, but also encourage and create joyful learners in a classroom. Kids ought to be excited about what they're learning. And
absolutely.
If we want to have 21st century learners, we can't do it with 20th century tools. So technology needs them to be involved. But we also, as you know, all our kids, all our young people today multitask.
That's right.
We need to create classrooms that allow for multitasking so that kids can be using the things that they're surrounded by and involved in, and use it and applying it in the classroom, making it culturally relevant for kids.
Right.
So kids understand why they're learning certain things, that it's about them, bringing their experiences into the classroom.
You mentioned in terms of the achievement gap, African American males, or just African American males and Latino males continue to be at the bottom of achievement. And I know that's not unique to San Francisco. I know that's the case in LA and in other districts across the state. Can you just talk a little bit more about that? I mean, what do you think, why do you think that is, and what are some of the things that the state and or locally that can be done to help those students?
Well, I think our educational system was designed to do something, and I think it's successful at doing that. You know, it was designed for the Leave It to Beaver family, and it's successful at that. But it wasn't designed to provide culturally relevant pedagogy in classrooms to motivate kids who bring language, bring experience, and be dealt with respect and dignity. Right. What they bring. Sometimes, too many times, the first thing we say to kids when they come to school is, "No, that's not the proper use of this word or that word."
Right.
Instead of building upon it, well, you know, if you say that to a child where they live, that is what the vocabulary they use.
Right.
I mean, maybe it's not proper English, but it is vocabulary. Right. So why don't we put out that word that the child's using and then build upon it what standard English is, you know? And so that everybody kind of, to some extent, becomes bilingual because you learn from one another.
That's right.
Well, those are simple little things that we could do in school. But, you know, like people say, well, kids aren't doing well in algebra. Well, it's not a question of whether or not kids can learn algebra, but can we make it an algebra and teach it in a way that they could understand it and be excited about learning? Right. What we have found, ironically enough, and that's why we went with this model that we're using for our strategic plan, is we have found that when you start breaking down that why is it that there are some schools that are closing the achievement gap? And so what we're going to use our entire school district as a resource to be a learning organization where we identify what is it specifically that these schools that are closing that, what are they doing?
What are they doing?
And why aren't we using them? We don't need outside consultants. Let's just bring these our own folks to come educate everyone else of what are the promising practices that are working to close the achievement gap.
As I was listening to you speak on several of the questions, one of the issues that popped into my mind was the issue of infrastructure and having the capacity, having the infrastructure to do the things that you need to do from an academic standpoint.
Oh, it's terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't have the technology or we don't have the infrastructure. And it's unfortunate. And here we are just down the street from Silicon Valley. You'd think that San Francisco would be on the cutting edge. We're not at all. In fact, I would say that for the most part, we're about 10 years behind other districts that I've been working with. And so how do we get us there? I think the reason why adequacy funding is so critical is that, if you want kids to compete or No Child Left Behind that says the standard's the same for everyone, I believe in having standards that are the same for everyone, but money does help to implement those standards. There's districts in this country that get double what San Francisco get or any school in California gets, and yet we're all meeting the same standard. Right. Our class sizes are the largest in the country. How are we supposed to compete? So I do think the lack of resources are hurting us. And also I think the fact that the business community, I think could step up to help us a lot more. It's real easy to say that to take shots at public education, but public education, I think it's a vested interest for everyone in America to make assure that we're going to make the public education system the best, because I don't believe you could have a true democracy without having a fabulous public education system.
Absolutely. Well, Superintendent, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.